Hi guys, this episode was shot at the incredible Rev 17 conference where they are raising funds to get a huge piece of property to house trafficked children. There is no more worthy cause than to save these children. Please click on the QR code and donate to Rev 17.
How you doing, sir? How are you?
Phenomenal.
So, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're doing over here. We're at the Rev 17, by the way, for the audience out there, an amazing conference about child trafficking that Pastor Dave and Matthew Kennedy and the team out here near Sacramento is putting on. So, sir, what are you up to here?
Well, my name's Lewis Hermes. My platform is ScrewBigGov, screwbiggov.com, and I've been doing documentaries and doing a lot of things in this industry. Had a truth tour. We did 117 cities with that, and a lot of exposure. And then, as of recent, I've announced my candidacy for governor of California.
Wow. Okay, so Governor of California, that's a big hill to climb. We have a couple of front-running candidates that Fox News has really been pushing, and then there's a lot of other great candidates that people don't know about, unfortunately. Could you tell us a little about your experiences running for office as you just started?
Yeah, so it just started. It's interesting you'd mentioned Fox News is pushing because there's a whole mechanism out there that if you're not part of the club, they say you don't have a chance. I think they're going to be highly surprised when they see my platform because what happens is there's the top 10 bullet points that Democrats and Republicans, that's what they run on, right? But the reality is the top 3 bullet points nobody ever mentions because they are cowards, in my opinion. Most of the candidates are cowards. That's human trafficking and child trafficking, right? It's literally the biggest industry in California, and I can prove it. The biggest profitable industry. There's hands down. Why would we not be talking constantly about the biggest, most profitable industry? Because they're afraid to say the wrong thing, right? So that's why they call me the anti-politician, because I don't give a damn. Don't get it. I mean, I'm carrying my.
Could you show that? That was very impressive, by the way. When I saw this gentleman walk up to me, he's got an open carry right there, which is awesome. We're in California, and this is very impressive. Very impressive that you're open carrying in California, because I've had some problems, but we'll talk about that in a sec.
Because that's our constitutional right. Now, full transparency, I'm on private property now, but I need to protect myself. I mean, I've already been poisoned 2 times just for putting out the truth anyways. But it's not about me. It's about we the people, and it's about the children. So our candidates are avoiding the most important things, which are human trafficking, election fraud. Why would not everybody talk about election fraud?
Could I mention a few things, by the way? This is a good jumping off point. For the viewers out there, if you've been following me, you all know that I was falsely accused by Sheriff Chad Bianco of being the third assassin. Really was, came after. I mean, I was 1.2 miles away from the Trump rally. Declared, said that I had a couple of firearms to a deputy before I even tried to park my car. And it's like a Disneyland setup where you park your car, you hop in the shuttle, and then you go to the actual entrance, and then you go through Secret Service, right? So for telling a police officer or a deputy that, hey, I have a couple of firearms, just letting you guys know I'm going to park my car, and then I'm going to go to take the shuttle and 1 mile down the road, for that I was...
Responsible thing to do.
Yeah, which is a
responsible thing.
Yeah, because I was thinking, hey, somebody breaks into my car, this is, an outdoor parking lot, at least the deputies know that I have a couple of firearms, and for that, I was made into the third assassin. Now, as we dove into Chad Bianco, because I was curious, like, why is this man saying these kind of things? And by the way, he's continued to lie until today. People literally 2 weeks ago were like, hey, he's still saying bad things about you. He thinks you were there to harm Trump. Complete BS, right? But he hasn't left the narrative. But when we started actually researching Chad Bianco, were you aware that his brother is a CPS judge? And I think something to the effect of 150 parents got their children taken from them, or mothers or fathers, put into the CPS system, and his brother is LGBTQ+. And I'm not coming at this from a homophobic whatever place, but it's certainly obvious that this guy's an activist judge. And my curiosity is, there's all this human trafficking, like you're saying, they're cowards, they don't talk about the real topics, like election fraud. I'm looking at this going, why aren't you investigating your own brother? Because there's a lot of questions about him.
I may have already investigated him. I have a film out there called Cages, which is specifically on human trafficking, and a large part is the CPS cabal. In fact, they rename it. Every time they get into trouble, they rename it. Now it's DCS or it's something different. California's the worst. by far. They get about $150,000 per kid if you can take a kid from a parent. Now, here's what's amazing, and this is I've been coming after CPS really hard in California and the judges, exposing the judges. In fact, somebody that you're going to interview today is in a battle with a couple judges that are really, really coming after him, and it's through the whole human trafficking network of our judicial system. So it's very, very simple. We've already proven, and this is documented, that 90% of the children that are taken from their homes through CPS with just $2,500 influx could have kept their child there because it had something to do with their financial stress at the time, while the child may have lacked socks or holes in their shoes or some and so forth. So, but yet they're willing to spend $150,000. Why is that? Because that money gets transferred through the corruption system, right, to everybody. So they don't give a darn. Can I say darn on here? I'm joking.
Curse away, bro. Yeah.
So they don't give a damn about the children. They don't give a damn about the parents. Now, many people don't know this, that over 60% of the prostitutes that they have found have gone through the foster care system, right? So the mechanism supports itself, which is disgusting. So these activist judges that are stealing, instead of trying to figure out a way the parent can keep, maybe have some type of conversation or help the parent out, they would rather take it because it means money to the system. And ultimately, many of these kids get put in a foster care system and disappear, and they get traded around, and then when they're worn out, they become an orphan harvesting donor is what they become. And these are the hard truths that nobody wants to talk about on the campaign. And I'm going to have to just be straightforward, authentic, right? That's the way God set it up. And I'm going to expose the parasite cabal at every single level. And I believe I'm going to get a lot of traction, but it's going to take a while because the two candidates that you mentioned are heavily funded, supported, and the GOP from California, which in my opinion is extraordinarily corrupt, is leaning into them, right? So I'm asking the California people, would you just want the same? Is that you just need an R next to it? Is that the difference?
I mean, I look at it from the outside, right? What I'm seeing, and tell me if I'm wrong here, by the way, because obviously there's an emotional aspect because this man tried to carpet bomb my life. He, did things that caused the attack of my elderly parents. I mean, just evil, parasitical type stuff. And even if I take myself out of that equation, knowing that, by the way, this is a document over here, guys. This is a Chad Bianco document. It's 14 pages long of all the bad stuff he's done. And by the way, my story, yeah, of course, my thing is that big. So it's not like, even if you take me out of the equation, this is a bad cop, right? But the things that I hear coming out of his mouth, like, hey, I'm going to get you guys the CCW permits, right? To me, that sounds like tyranny on an installment plan. It sounds like what really should be the sentence is you have the right to bear arms, period, open carry, end of the story, not I'm going to sell you this thing. You're going to pay $150 for this thing, and it's going to be your road to tyranny. That's what it sounds like when these guys are saying CCW permits.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if we are truly 2A, we have to be 2A all the way, right? We don't play games with it. And the challenge I find with a lot of these politicians is they try to find that way to manipulate their way in, to grab votes and maybe just do a little bit. And it doesn't really matter because half the time they don't follow through on it anyways, right? But yeah, the Second Amendment means something. And the Second Amendment is to protect the First Amendment, right? And
on the voter, let's talk about the voter fraud stuff real quick, because I've been given information to state that there's actually amazing voter fraud experts here, Dr. Frank being one of them, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So basically, people like Dr. Frank were recommended to Chad Bianco to basically do the voter fraud stuff. And incidentally, he didn't want those people that we recognize as being the top leaders in the voter fraud game, right? He wanted to insert somebody that was clearly not going to expose. And as a sheriff, you have all the power in the world to investigate and stop voter fraud. And today what I see on X is that if I become governor, I'm going to stop this voter fraud stuff, which is like saying, dude, as a sheriff, you already have all the power in the world to stop the voter fraud, to investigate it. But he's saying, if I become governor, which to me just feels like a horseshit line. I got my curse word out. So
Yeah, well, it's a great line to pander to your audience, right? But the reality is, a sheriff can do it right now, and in fact, because of election fraud in human trafficking, I created a program called Remember Your Oath, which was actually it was I got the inspiration from President Trump because one time he posted "Remember Your Oath" on his True Social feed, and I'm like, that's it. So I created a program, and I'm going to release it pretty soon under my Freedom and Action platform. And what it is it actually gives sheriffs a scorecard. It says 1 through 5. Here's and oh, by the way, I've already had the slogan. It says we will support and hold you accountable, because they work for we the people. They seem to forget that a long time ago, right? So it's a scorecard that has 4 basic questions on it. See, how would you prosecute this? Would you put this through the system and do what you need to do? Of course, one of them has to do with elections. If the evidence is dropped on your desk, will you pursue this to the fullest extent of your ability? But then there's a second scorecard, and that one's by we the people, rating the first 4 questions to see if they're actually telling the truth. Because what we have found is many people will answer all 4 of these, and they'll get what I call a green mark, but they'll get an orange or a red mark because they don't really follow through on what they're saying. So the beautiful thing about the platform, and I believe by the time we release it, we'll have millions on it. Now they know they're accountable to millions of people that says, we're going to either hold you accountable or we're going to support you because you answer to the we the people. And they need to remember that. And they think they answer to their controllers, but when they find out the power of the people, I think they're going to flip their lids really quickly.
Obviously, I've been leading a campaign against Chad Bianco, which, by the way, for the viewers out there, he started off polling at 12% back in November 15. April 12th, there was another poll done, and this is after our campaign of really just pointing out all the bad things about Bianco. He was down to 4.2%, right? Definitely an effective campaign there in terms of showing people what Chad Bianco is. But part of that is, we drop messages. Let's say Chad Bianco's like, hey, like, I'm going to push for CCW. We drop messages. We're like, dude, you're basically tyranny on the installment plan. You have all the power to do this right now. You're full of crap, basically, right? And that seems to have been effective for a lot of people, but you still have this kind of ignorant Republican group, and I hate to refer to them that way, where they seem to be compelled by people's words without doing research. And they like that he's saying these nice words because a lot of these politicians say the nice words. And I love hearing that I'm going to, review election fraud. Sounds great, right? But, you think about it, you're like, wait a minute, you could do election fraud right now, and hence and therefore you're kind of full of shit to even bring that up. Yeah. So, people seem to be really ignorant, and that's been the difficult thing in terms of conveying what's happened. People are still supporting this man that's into tyranny. What do you do about educating really what is an ignorant voter base that is not aware of their constitutional rights?
Well, that's beautiful because my whole platform is asking questions, and then I would ask questions. I'm going to take it a step further than they're listening to talking points and making their vote. I think it's worse. I believe they're looking at the letter next to their candidate and they're voting. I don't think they're doing any work whatsoever. And that's the largest con that we've had in this nation for a long time. I have no problem with you want to be a Republican, you want to be a Democrat. I really don't give a damn. That's not my business. My business is to hopefully motivate you to do your freaking job as we the people and look into every single candidate that you would put your check mark next to. That's what's not going on. It's not going on at all. It is just, oh, we got to vote ours all the way down. And the GOP in California knows that, right? The Republican Party in California knows that. So what do? They just put a bunch of deep state rhino actors in there, and then we feel good. Oh, look at we got our Republican in, and then, oh, well, why did he vote for that? Why is he ignoring this? Oh, do I not exist? But the problem is, Vem, 2 years later we do the same thing. And the same thing and same thing. So what I'm going to hopefully do is I want to break that MK Ultra that I believe that we're under and say, guys, you have a duty to investigate every single person you're going to vote for, or don't put a check mark there at all, right? I actually believe I'm going to bring unity together because it's not about the Democrats and the Republicans. In fact, I believe the division was intentionally created in order for the controllers to control.
Sorry, it's psychological warfare because there is such a thing as the 80% party. I believe there is an 80% party because 80% of us, whether Democrat or Republican, don't want our kids sexualized, don't like child trafficking, don't like this criminal nonsense. You're a classic JFK Democrat. That is the 80% party. And they don't. That is imagine you're like looking at and you're running these two businesses. Look at it that way. You're running two businesses, and there's another business that comes and says, you know what? We're going to drive you got 40% market share each one of your businesses. We have 80% market share, so you're done. And then the party system is done, and we go back to the founding fathers' vision, which is really voting on the individual and the policy as opposed to party, which is the cancer of our country, in my opinion.
You just said my campaign speech right there. This is exactly what I'm telling everybody. Is we're closer aligned to the JFK Democrats when we look. And I said if we were to do a Venn diagram, it would show us that we are 80% together, and there's a very small percentage that's really divided on. But what do the Democrats and Republicans constantly focus on? They only focus on the divide. That's a game. People in there have to understand they've been played for decades, and we will not be played anymore.
They're both selling tyranny on installment plan. One thing I want to talk with you about is, we've done a lot of documentaries, podcasts. It seems as though statutory laws, admiralty law is one of the big issues because we have a constitution that tells us one thing, and then you have this contradictory thing, which is this inversion of what is a constitution, what is really the lineage of God's law, inverted, which is statutory laws. And that's the way they criminalize people. And by the way, I'll give you my example. I had a couple of firearms in my back of my SUV. Told them I had firearms. According to the Constitution, I'm totally in the clear, right? But you look at the statutory laws of California, and all of a sudden, for these two firearms, for somebody that's harmless, no victim in this crime, there is no crime, right? They're spending probably, I would say, this is costing Riverside, in terms of this whole situation, probably upwards of $1 million to defend this situation because they tried to go against my constitutional rights. And now I could federally sue them and say, you're going against my constitutional rights. And judge that's a federal constitutional judge should say, hey, what you guys did is wrong. Opened up $1 million liability for silly statutory admiralty law. What do you think about that?
Well, I simplify it, actually. I don't even go statutory law. I said this is corporate law. We're dealing with corporate tyranny all throughout the states, the cities, the counties, obviously the federal government. DC, I believe, is a corporation. That's just the way it is. I said, so what we need to do is we need to start having these hard conversations. We can call it common law or natural law, and there's kind of a debate between theirs. But I said it literally in my opening announcement to run for governor, I said one thing that we need to explore openly is constitutional common law. What is that? Why are we not doing that? Why are we dealing in a corporate law system? So I'm all over that.
Corporate law, which is really about criminalizing people. Your tax dollar, $1 million went for a constitutional right, Riverside County. I mean, that should never be a sentence that comes out of any human being's mouth that, hey, Riverside County, you lost $1 million over this silly statutory law.
Yeah, it's just control. It's a control mechanism that's been installed a long time ago. I mean, I can bring it all the way back to Babylonian black magic and the way they try to control things. But it's all control. Because if we can be controlled, and we're controlled through big pharma, right? We're controlled through the education system. We're controlled through the food that we eat. We're controlled through the banking system. It's all. In fact, the reality is the COVID lockdown and mandates would have meant nothing, right, without a corpocracy that actually are the ones that were the brown shirts during the mandates. The reality, if the corporations would have said, I'm not going to enforce this, mask mandates and lockdowns would have ended immediately, right? But the corporations are the ones that enforced it because they are the brown shirts for the deep state cabal.
Backdoor communism is what I call that. When you have an elite that use their lobbying powers, their billions. I'll give you an example, by the way, and now I'm going to give you the mic because I'd love for you to make a closing statement for the audience out there. So when you have like, what do you call it? This culture of basically creating fear, taking away people's rights. Really, this is both parties are selling us this idea of like slow motion tyranny. You don't even know you're falling into it because it's happening on like a drip level. And unfortunately, the people, I saw a post today where it's like we started a revolution over 3% taxes and now 40% tax. You see this simpy dude sitting inside this apartment going, yeah, sure, I'm going to do it. All his testosterone is gone, masculinity is gone because he's eating all this crap food and he has no defense mechanism. He has no fight mechanism. That seems to be what's going going on right now?
Yeah. So the parasite controllers, right? They work in multi-generational plans, like a 100-year plan. Many of us don't even work on a plan to get to the weekend, and they know that, right? So they use that. So if if John Doe controller fails or doesn't get his plan done, it's okay because his kid's going to pick it up and the grandkid's going to pick it up and eventually going to do it. What they've done is they put us what I call the frog in the pot system a long time ago. So they're slowly turning up the heat and boiling us, and we don't even know. Believe it or not, I think the solution is massive disclosure, right? And reacclimating people to the truth. So we need to use the frog in the pot in a positive way. Drip, 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 drip. Because in my belief system, you plant the seed, God's going to water it for us. And everybody else is going to figure it out. So part of my campaign is the awakening of people in California and the world. This is what I've been doing for years on my platform, ScrewBigGov. That's what it's all about. I really believe that we're going to make a huge difference. And at minimum, we're going to open the doors for other candidates to do something crazy and just be honest and authentic at every level.
Amazing, amazing, sir. I'm going to give you the mic. I would love for you to make a statement to the audience out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Ben. So, just real quick, we have all the power. We, the people, have always held the power. When we stand up in unity, we are the ones that make the difference. I've seen it time and time again in board of supervisors meetings, in front of government. When we stand up, we win. Now, we have to be willing to take the slings and arrows, though, and that's the hard part. Clearly, Vem has done that. He's been a target, but he's standing strong. I would encourage everybody to stand strong in your principles. Think less about your personal finances than taking back our country, because guess what? There's not going to be a country to take back in the near future. And what are you really leaving for your kids, your children, and their children? That's why I'm in the fight. I've been poisoned 2 times. They come after me. They try to attack me, shame me, kill me, whatever they want to do. It's not about me. It's about the future that we're leaving for our children. So if you want to check out anything I do, just go to screwbiggov.com, and you can also find my platform, which is Hermes for Cali. So I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Anytime. And one thing I want to mention here is, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Younger. For people that are not aware of how bad it is out there, go look at the story of Jeff Younger. Do you know Jeff Younger, Ben?
I don't.
So his 2-year-old son was ex-wife decides she wants to transition the boy at 2 years old. Starts with chemical castration. Was able to traffic the kids to California, where it's a sanctuary state against parents. Now it has changed the child's name. The child's 12 years old, about to castrate the boy, and the father has no say. And this is what's going on in this country. When as men you have no dominion over your own children, and the government is saying that you're going to transition your child, that's what's going on in this country right now. That's why we need serious, like this stuff of like, I'm going to get you a CCW. No. Unless you're telling me you're going to remove these tyrannical, treasonous courts that are child trafficking institutions, there's no conversation. You're like...
In fact, I have the identical story I think you're going to interview next, which is a gentleman I've already interviewed. Great guy, Adam Vina, and he's from California. Same story as that you're having with this Jeff Younger guy. Will blow you away. And I would ask him specifically, just so, because he may not remember, about the organizations that the 2 judges involved in this case are connected to. Not just...
Wow, do you want to give us a little preview of what those are?
Yeah, so they are in charge of organizations that support the transitioning of children, yet they're the judiciary ruling on his case.
Chad Bianco's brother, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
For real. I mean, the guy, again, horror stories where I don't think, like, I've seen so many horror stories with CPS. I think, like, frankly, and this is going to probably sound a little extreme, but as somebody who has lived through this, I'd rather a child stay with their drug-addicted parents than go to CPS. Because CPS, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that it's pretty much disaster. Like, the childs are going to get abused. There's going to be the destruction of the child's confidence and, moral aptitude, I guess.
Well, the challenge is that CPS is putting them into this foster care system that have a few wonderful foster parents in it, but probably the bulk of them are not. There's actually illegals right now that are getting paid to foster care children and putting their children in fight clubs. I'm working on one of those cases out of Nevada right now.
Are you a lawyer, by the way?
No. I've been because of my platform and my exposure and the documentary I did, Cages, which had a huge section about CPS, the top CPS people that are fighting against the system have come to me, and I'm a troubleshooter. So they come to me and I kind of give them some advice, take it in this direction, maybe we could do this and stuff like that. Same thing I'm going to do for California.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Lewis. I really appreciate your time here. For the viewers out there, definitely check out the series that we're doing at Rev 17. We're going to have a lot of great interviews with a lot of really, top thought leaders and what we need to do. We call it at America Happens Network, we call it America 3.0. What do we have to do to solidify America 3.0? How do we make that the best version? America 1.0 was the revolution. America 2.0 was the capture, what he's talking about, where we're our corporate takeover. America 3.0 is a fight for freedom. So definitely join us on America Happens Network, everyone, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Everything I've got, pushing for that first place.